How many brilliant ideas have you left to die in the graveyard of your intentions? Today you'll discover the three-step plan Napoleon Hill uncovered while studying the 500 most successful people of his time, a method that transforms any idea into unstoppable action. And no, this isn't just another motivational video you'll forget tomorrow. This will change how your mind works starting today. There's a truth Napoleon Hill discovered after 25 years of studying the world's most successful people. The chasm between those who have brilliant ideas and those who actually execute them isn't about talent or luck, but about the ability to transform those ideas into a concrete plan. And that chasm, that middle space, is exactly what we're going to eliminate today with the method he discovered. Let's be honest, how many times have you had an idea that you knew could change your life if you implemented it? How many times have you felt that spark of inspiration only to watch it fade away days later amid the distractions of everyday life? This happens to 98% of people. They have moments of brilliance followed by months of inaction, but that ends for you today. Most people make the same mistake over and over. They confuse initial enthusiasm with true determination. Napoleon Hill explained it perfectly when he said, "Enthusiasm is only the starter motor, but perseverance is the battery that keeps the engine running." And that perseverance doesn't come naturally. It has to be built with a system. If you keep listening, you'll discover exactly how to build that system step by step. This information has created millionaires, transformed entire industries, and today it can transform your ability to execute. But only if you pay complete attention to what I'm going to share in the next few minutes. The first thing you need to understand is that your mind is the primary battlefield. Every idea you don't execute doesn't die from lack of resources or time. It dies in your mind before it has the chance to manifest in the physical world. Napoleon Hill called it mental chemistry, that invisible but powerful process where your thoughts determine your actions. The first powerful idea you need to absorb to move from idea to action is that your focus determines your reality. If you can't direct your attention, you'll never be able to direct your life. The ability to maintain unwavering focus on your goal isn't a trait you're born with. It's a skill you deliberately develop, and it's the first door you must cross. Napoleon Hill said that concentration is the first step toward mental control, and he was right. In a world designed to fragment your attention, your ability to focus is your most valuable competitive advantage. Successful people aren't necessarily smarter, but they have trained their minds to stay focused on what matters for longer than average. Think about this. Every time you look at your phone for no reason, every time you jump from one task to another without completing any, every time you allow an external distraction to interrupt your work, you're weakening your focus muscle. And weak focus means weak execution, no matter how brilliant your initial idea. Here's the exercise I want you to do right now while watching this video. Identify the most important project you have pending, the one that you know could change your trajectory if you completed it. Now, can you clearly define the first concrete step you need to take to move forward with that project? If it takes you more than 5 seconds to answer, you have a clarity problem, not a motivation problem. Repeat this phrase. My focus is my power. Every day I concentrate my attention on the actions that really move the needle. This simple but powerful mantra, repeated daily, begins to reprogram your mind to value focus over distraction. If you've liked what you've heard so far, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell, because every week we share practical strategies like this one, based on the timeless wisdom of masters like Napoleon Hill, but adapted to the fast-paced world we live in. And remember, focus isn't just about eliminating distractions. It's about creating systems that make your success inevitable. It's about turning the difficult into routine. And that's what we'll talk about in the next point. The second crucial element for turning ideas into action is creating a specific plan with clear dates and responsibilities. Napoleon Hill explained it perfectly. A goal is nothing more than a dream with a deadline. That difference between a vague dream and a concrete goal is precisely what separates those who wish from those who achieve. Most people have pretty good ideas. They may even have moments of clarity where they see exactly what they need to do. The problem is that they never translate that vision into a step-by-step plan with specific dates. They keep their goals in the ethereal realm of someday, that place where they slowly die. Have you noticed how tasks without deadlines never get completed? It's a universal law. What doesn't have a specific completion date expands to fill all available time and generally remains unfinished. Your mind needs the pressure of a deadline to activate all its resources and capabilities. Napoleon Hill observed this pattern over and over again in the successful people he studied. All of them, without exception, had developed the habit of setting clear deadlines for their most important projects. They didn't work with vague concepts like soon or when I can, but with concrete dates on the calendar. Think about your own behavior. Isn't it true that you perform better under pressure? Isn't it true that when you have an imminent deadline, you suddenly find ways to do what seemed impossible a few days ago? That sense of urgency shouldn't only appear in crisis situations, but should be intentionally created for every important goal. But there's a crucial element most people overlook: specificity. It's not enough to say, "I'm going to start my business this year." That's too vague for your mind to process as a real plan. You need to say, "By June 15th, I will have legally registered my company, created my initial website, and contacted my first 10 potential clients." That clarity activates different centers in your brain and turns the abstract into concrete. Let's do a practical exercise. Take that same important project you identified earlier. Now, define 3 specific milestones with concrete dates that you must reach in the next 30 days. Don't put everything on the last day. Distribute these milestones strategically and write them somewhere you'll see them every day. This simple act of concretization is already altering your relationship with that project. Napoleon Hill insisted that procrastination is the bad habit of postponing until tomorrow what should have been done the day before yesterday. And that habit disappears when you have a clear plan with defined dates that you constantly review. You can no longer fool yourself into thinking that there's still time. Time becomes visible, measurable, and therefore valuable. Repeat this affirmation every morning as you review your plan. Today is not just any day, it's a specific day on my path toward my goal. This awareness of time as a finite and precisely allocated resource completely changes your daily focus. Are you applying these concepts in your life? If this video is giving you clarity on how to turn your ideas into concrete actions, hit like and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Together, we can create a community of people who don't just dream, but execute relentlessly. Remember, a plan is only as good as your ability to execute it day after day. And that brings us to the next crucial point that will transform your ability to move from idea to action. The third fundamental idea for turning your thoughts into tangible results is what Napoleon Hill called the mastermind alliance, the power of shared responsibility and strategic support. This is possibly the most powerful yet most underutilized idea of all those he discovered in his study of successful people. Hill observed that virtually everyone who achieved extraordinary success had some form of alliance with like-minded individuals, people who understood their goals, shared their values, and held them accountable for their commitments. It didn't matter the field, business, art, politics, or science, this pattern repeated consistently. Think of it this way: your mind is expert at creating excuses that only you would believe. When the path gets difficult, when the initial motivation disappears, your brain will start generating perfectly reasonable justifications for abandoning your plan. And if you only answer to yourself, it's too easy to accept those excuses. Has it ever happened to you that you commit to exercising at 6 a.m., but when the alarm goes off, you suddenly convince yourself that you really need that extra rest, or that it would be more productive to start tomorrow? In that crucial moment, only an external system of accountability can save you from yourself. Napoleon Hill expressed it with crystal clarity. No human mind can achieve its maximum potential operating independently. This statement contradicts the myth of the solitary genius that we've been sold so much. The reality is that extraordinary success is always a collaborative effort, even when it seems to be achieved by an individual. Here's the practical part. You need to deliberately create your own mastermind alliance. This can be as simple as finding an accountability partner with whom you share your weekly goals and report regularly, or as elaborate as forming a mastermind group with people who share your ambitions but bring complementary perspectives and skills. What's crucial is that these people must have three fundamental characteristics. They must genuinely understand your goals and why they're important to you. They must be honest enough to tell you the truth when you're failing or deceiving yourself. And they must have their own ambitions so that the relationship is reciprocal and sustainable. Let's do an exercise now. Identify three people in your life who could be part of your mastermind alliance. They don't have to be experts in your specific field, but they should be people you respect, who have their own clear goals, and with whom you feel comfortable being vulnerable about your challenges. Now commit to contacting at least one of them this week to propose this alliance. Remember this truth. Exceptional people don't fear asking for help. They fear getting stuck due to pride or misunderstood self-sufficiency. As Hill said, it is literally true that you can succeed better and faster by helping others succeed. The motivational factor of shared responsibility cannot be underestimated. When you know someone else is waiting for your progress report, when you have publicly declared your intentions to people whose opinion you value, you activate deep psychological mechanisms that push you to action even when your internal motivation wavers. Do you notice how these three elements, unwavering focus, specific plan, and shared responsibility, are already forming a coherent system? Each one reinforces and amplifies the power of the others. And that's what we'll talk about in the next point. The fourth transformative idea for materializing your goals is what Napoleon Hill called planned persistence. This concept goes far beyond simple determination. It's about a structured way to overcome the inevitable resistance that appears on any path to success. The great revelation Hill discovered is that persistence is not primarily a personality trait, as many believe, but a deliberate strategy that can be designed, implemented, and perfected. People who achieve exceptional results don't just decide to be persistent. They create systems that make persistence the path of least resistance. Have you noticed how moments of highest motivation tend to be fleeting? They appear strongly, propel you to take initial action, but then fade away in the face of the first real obstacles. Hill observed that truly successful people had learned not to depend on these emotional peaks, but to build routines that worked independently of how they felt on any given day. Think about this. Every significant project goes through what we might call the valley of disillusionment, that point where the initial excitement has disappeared, results are not yet visible, and doubts begin to arise. It's precisely in that valley where 90% of people give up, and exactly where planned persistence makes the difference. Napoleon Hill expressed it with surprising clarity. Persistence is to character what carbon is to steel. Without the intense and constant heat of persistence, even the best ideas and plans remain malleable, unable to withstand the pressure of reality. But how do you develop this planned persistence? First, you must anticipate resistance. Don't be surprised when obstacles appear. Include them in your plan from the beginning. Hill recommended what he called planning for temporary defeat, identifying in advance the points where you'll likely face setbacks and designing specific strategies to overcome them. Second, you must create what modern psychologists call implementation triggers, predetermined decisions about how you'll respond to certain challenges. For example, if I lose motivation to work on my project after an exhausting day, then I'll immediately do just the smallest possible task to maintain momentum. These programmed responses eliminate the need to make decisions in moments of low energy. Third, and perhaps most importantly, you must establish a system of regular review of your progress. Napoleon Hill insisted on the practice of constant self-evaluation. Each week, you should ask yourself, am I advancing at the necessary pace? What adjustments do I need to make in my approach? What learnings can I extract from the obstacles I've faced? Let's do a practical exercise. Think about your last big project that you abandoned. Can you identify exactly at what point you lost momentum? What kind of resistance did you face that you couldn't overcome? Now, with that knowledge, design 3 specific strategies you would implement if you faced similar resistance in your current project. To reinforce this concept, repeat this affirmation daily. Obstacles are not walls that stop me, but doors that open when I apply enough persistent pressure. This mindset transforms every setback from a signal to give up into an invitation to innovate. Napoleon Hill observed something fascinating in his study. The most successful people frequently faced more failures and obstacles than average people. The difference wasn't in the absence of problems, but in their response to them. Where others saw reasons to abandon, they saw lessons that brought them closer to the solution. Do you see how we're building a complete system? Unwavering focus keeps you on the right path. The specific plan gives you clarity about your next steps. The Mastermind Alliance provides you with support and accountability, and planned persistence ensures you'll keep moving forward even when everything gets difficult. If this video is proving valuable to you, help me share these ideas with more people. Hit like, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and hit the notification bell to receive more content like this. Because here we don't just talk about ideas, we build systems to execute them. And now let's talk about the fifth and final element that completes this powerful system for turning any idea into action and concrete results. And that's what we'll discuss in the next point. The fifth transformative element, which elevates the entire system to a higher level, is what Napoleon Hill called transmutation, the ability to convert every experience, especially negative ones, into fuel for your progress. This is the factor that separates those who eventually give up from those who persist until inevitable triumph. Ordinary people see their experiences as isolated events, some good, some bad, some neutral. But Hill discovered that extraordinary minds possess the ability to extract value from absolutely every experience, transforming even the greatest setbacks into strategic advantages. This capability isn't magical or mystical, although it sometimes appears so. It's a practical skill that involves three specific mental processes that you can deliberately develop: reinterpretation, extraction of lessons, and strategic realignment. Think about the last time you faced a significant failure. How did you respond? Most people follow a predictable pattern: frustration, self-pity, search for external culprits, and finally, diminishing their ambitions or complete abandonment. This is precisely the pattern you must break. Napoleon Hill expressed it with a powerful image. Every adversity, every failure, and every heartache carries with it the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit. This isn't an empty motivational phrase. It's a precise description of how reality works when you learn to see correctly. Reinterpretation involves consciously changing the meaning you assign to events. A rejection isn't a statement about your worth, but valuable information about what you need to adjust. A failure isn't the end of the road, but a necessary redesign of the route. This change in perspective isn't automatic. It requires deliberate practice. The extraction of lessons is an active process, not passive. Don't wait for lessons to reveal themselves. After every setback, systematically ask yourself, what can I learn from this that I couldn't have learned any other way? What skill do I need to develop that this failure has highlighted? What incorrect assumptions was I making? Strategic realignment means adjusting your plan without abandoning your goal. As Hill said, most successful people have had to overcome great obstacles before succeeding. They simply refuse to be defeated. This ability to pivot without giving up, to adapt without abandoning, is what ultimately determines who reaches the finish line. Let's do a practical exercise right now. Identify the biggest obstacle you're currently facing in your most important project. Now ask yourself, what opportunity might be hidden within this challenge? What strength might be developing in you precisely because you're facing this difficulty? How could you use this obstacle to redefine your focus and make it even more powerful? To incorporate this mindset, repeat this affirmation daily. There are no failures, only results and learnings. Every obstacle strengthens me and brings me closer to my most powerful version. This transmutation capability doesn't just help you overcome obstacles, it fundamentally transforms your relationship with failure. When you no longer fear failing because you know you can extract value from any outcome, you act with a freedom and boldness that most never experience. You take more calculated risks, innovate more frequently, and, paradoxically, fail less because you learn faster. Napoleon Hill observed a revealing pattern in the more than 500 successful people he studied. All had faced what he called temporary defeats. The fascinating thing is that many attributed their ultimate success precisely to those experiences that seemed disastrous at the time. What initially appeared to be their worst moment turned out to be the catalyst for their greatest breakthrough. Do you notice how these 5 elements form a complete and self-sustaining system? Focused concentration keeps you on the right track. The specific plan gives you clarity about your next steps. The Mastermind Alliance provides you with support and accountability. Planned persistence ensures you keep moving forward even when everything gets tough. And finally, transmutation converts every experience on the path, good or bad, into fuel for your continued progress. This system isn't theoretical. It has been tested and validated by hundreds of extraordinary people whom Hill meticulously studied for more than 25 years. And now it's in your hands to implement it. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to turn everything they touch into gold, while others never manage to take off? The answer isn't in their circumstances, their education, or even their intelligence. It's in the mental systems they consistently employ. And today you've learned exactly that system. If you've made it this far, you no longer have excuses. You have the exact formula that has created extraordinary results for countless people before you. The only question that remains is, what will you do with it? Let me conclude with a final reflection on the true meaning of success, according to Napoleon Hill. He discovered that success isn't an event, a possession, or a status. It's a mindset that manifests through consistent actions, and that mindset is now within your reach. We've traveled together the path from idea to action, from momentary inspiration to systematic execution. You've learned that focus determines your reality, that a specific plan turns the abstract into concrete, that shared responsibility multiplies your results, that planned persistence carries you through any obstacle, and that transmutation turns every experience into a valuable asset. These aren't just techniques, they're a complete philosophy of action that, when consistently implemented, transforms not only your external results, but your internal experience of the process. Success ceases to be a constant struggle and becomes the natural consequence of a well-designed system. The real question now is, are you ready to leave behind the mindset of the average person who dreams but never executes? Are you willing to commit to this system not just today while inspiration is fresh, but tomorrow and the day after when resistance appears? If your answer is yes, I want you to leave a comment below with these exact words: I commit to turning my ideas into action through Napoleon Hill's system. My success is inevitable when I consistently apply these principles. This public commitment isn't trivial. By declaring your intention in front of this community, you're activating the power of shared responsibility we discussed earlier. You're making a statement not only to others, but to yourself about who you choose to be from today forward. Remember, as Napoleon Hill said, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve. Now you have the exact tools to close the gap between conceiving, believing, and achieving. The rest is up to you. If this video has provided you with value, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to receive more content like this. Share it with someone who you know could benefit from these ideas. Together, we can create a community of people who don't just dream, but execute relentlessly. See you in the next video, where we'll continue to deepen the timeless principles that separate those who wish from those who achieve. Until then, remember, from idea to action, there's a system, and that system is now in your hands.